In this lesson, we will learn the IPCC guidelines and methodology for carbon sequestration and accounting. The IPCC published guidelines for agriculture, forestry, and other uses that define 3 tiers, 3 different approaches, and 2 methods for assessing and reporting greenhouse gases emissions. Tier 1 method is a basic method that uses default values by land use, land cover type, and is most suitable for nations with limited inventory and remote sensing capabilities. Tier 2 method is a combination between the latter methodology and using inventory data. Tier 3 method represents more demanding technical capabilities, accuracy, and data requirements. It's a combination between inventory and process-based models. IPCC recommended 6 standard AFOLU categories for consistent and comparable reporting. These are forest land, cropland, grassland, wetlands, settlements, and other land. These categories are important to memorize since they will appear in the following sections. The 3 tiers also categorize the data availability and level of accuracy of the methodologies. In this sense, Tier 1 applies to countries in which either the subcategory forest land, remaining forest land, or biomass carbon pool is not a key category, and little or no country-specific activity data and emission removal factors exist nor can be obtained. Tier 2 applies to countries where forest land, remaining forest land, or carbon pool is a key category, and country-specific estimates of activity data and emission removal factors are available. Finally, Tier 3 requires the use of detailed forest inventory data supplemented by dynamic models or allometric equations calibrated to national circumstances that allow for direct calculations of biomass increment. Parallel to the tiers, IPCC defines 3 approaches for representing land area. The first approach works at national and regional level and identifies the total area for each individual land use category, but does not provide detailed information on changes of area between categories. The second approach modifies the first one by providing information regarding the changes between categories. And finally, the third approach extends the approach number 2 by allowing land use changes to be tracked on a spatial basis. As we have introduced before, the IPCC proposes 2 methodologies for assessing and reporting greenhouse gases emissions. These methodologies are the gain-loss method and the stock difference method. The gain-loss method assesses the change by subtracting the biomass carbon loss to the biomass carbon gain. In this equation, delta of Cg is the annual increase in carbon stocks due to biomass growth for each land subcategory. Considering the total area, it's defined by tons of carbon by year. Thus, the carbon loss, delta CL, refers to annual decrease in carbon stocks due to biomass loss. The stock difference method calculates the variation in carbon stock by subtracting the carbon stock at the time 2 and at time 1 divided by the number of years between the inventories. In this method, carbon is defined as the aggregation of all the carbon stored in the merchantable growing stock volume, expanded to the above ground and below ground biomass using biomass conversion and expansion factors, also known as BCEF, and conversion ratios between above ground and below ground biomass, also known as R. The carbon values are estimated for a given area in a given time. So with this, we've ended our brief introduction to IPCC guidelines methodology. Thank you for your attention, and please, for further information, refer to the official documentation of the IPCC guidelines of 2009 and their modification of 2019. In Chapter 2, general methodologies and equations applicable to different land uses categories can be found, whereas Chapter 4 focuses on methodologies for the land use and land cover category, forest land. Thank you and goodbye.